Welcome to Happy Hour with Haley. I'm your host, Haley Chura, and I'm joined this week by
It's the Wong Star.
Jocelyn Wong Neill. Jocelyn, how are you doing?
I feel like we're both a little bit rusty. I had to pull out like all the microphone wires and earbuds, and we both struggled trying to get everything plugged in so that we can actually get onto this call.
We are learning as we go, learning on the job, as they call it. Maybe we should start this brand new podcast by saying who we are. And I feel like you should introduce yourself first. Who's the Wong Star?
So right now I'm a very normal-ish person, but once upon a time I was the first Asian American female pro triathlete, and I've now been retired since 2011. Damn, that was like 14 plus years ago, right? And
Time flies.
yeah, I feel like I retired like around the time you started racing pro.
Right. Because if we want our listeners to know how we know each other, we did actually meet because of triathlon. So I also am a retired professional triathlete. I am 2 months into my retirement. I had a 12-year professional career. It was wonderful, so exciting. I am now too a normal person. It's really fun, normal life. But on this show, we are going to reminisce a little bit about our glory days and maybe opine on the current state of triathlon. But to give our listeners a little background, you were a professional triathlete and I was an age group athlete at one point and a fan of yours. I was a fan of your blog, and you had one of the most prolific blogs in all of triathlon, probably all of endurance sports. And do you know that we actually raced together once? You were professional, I was an amateur. It was a very, very impactful moment for me. I'm guessing it probably was not quite as impactful for you. I think it was either in 2010 or 2011 at Ironman Louisville.
So
What
this
year
would
were
have
you there?
been 2010. And that was the year I was doing like every single Ironman in America.
There were a lot more Ironmans in America
There
back then.
was. Yeah, I think I did 8 Ironmans that year, and it was, like, the days Louisville was still in August when it was hot
It was
before
so
they
hot.
got soft and moved it to, like, a cooler time of year, and then they got really soft and just canceled the full distance there, but that means at one point I was faster than you, Haley.
You passed me in that race. So for our listeners who don't remember the glory days of the twins, the professionals in that time got, I think, a 10-minute head start. And then Louisville was just a self-seeded, it was a time trial start even back then. And so I was one of those people who like ran from transition to the swim start to try to be one of the first people in the water because I like being in the front. And you started with the professionals, so I started probably 10, 11 minutes behind you. I'm a pretty good swimmer,
And I
still
was a
am.
pretty bad swimmer and still am.
So at some point, I passed you in the water, and then you got me back, though, on the bike. You passed me on the bike, and I remember it because there's this very steep hill. We were up this very steep hill, and you just, like, motored by me going by it, and I was like, it's the Wong Star! Because, again, I was a fan of your blog, and it was one of those cool age grouper moments for me. So it was incredibly hot. That was one of the hottest races I've ever done. That was
So hot.
so hot. But I'm glad it brought us together in a way. And then many years later, we got to connect. I interviewed you on a previous show, and we've done a few things over the years. But now I'm excited that you're here for Happy Hour. Maybe we should tell our guests about the name, the name of the show.
Happy Hour with Haley.
Obviously, that's me, but we are fans of a good beverage. I'm a fan of almost every beverage, I think, especially the adult variety. And today, for our inaugural show, we are going with adult beverages. Do you have one?
Yes, yes. So my drink of choice today is a fancy holiday brew. I don't know if we'll have
Ooh,
video, but this is Trogs. I probably am not pronouncing that right, but it's a Mad Elf Grand Cru. So this came in a 4-pack and it had a fancy cork with like the twisty wires on it.
You opened it without me?
I'm sorry. It was that was a struggle too. The first one I had, so we got these, actually it was like Ainsley's birthday party. I had to get some adult beverages to
And
get
Ainsley's your daughter who just
she
turned
just turned 5.
5. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Needed some
So the
adult
first one
beverages for the 5-year-old birthday.
I was able to yank out the cork by hand, but the second one I tried, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna actually need a wine opener."
That
So
sounds
I
like a
was
good beer. So wait, it's a dark beer? What kind of beer is
okay,
this?
so it says it is an ale brewed with honey and cherries, and you may be able to hear it in my voice, but I'm getting over some 5-year-old cooties. So the honey it's medicinal.
I'm so glad. Okay, well, I actually did. I brought an adult beverage as well. I have a Breakside Brewing Wanderlust out of Portland, Oregon. I think this is an IPA, 6.5 alcohol. And what's special is I am pouring it on days when I need to remind myself that I did a terrible job pouring this, but I don't know if you can see.
Very
This is
frothy.
my special mug, my special pint glass. You can't see it right now because I did such a terrible job pouring. Again, first show, we'll get better. But this pint glass is actually a gift from my friend Lauren Palmer, and it says Ironman champion Haley Chura, because after
What?
I won Ironman Mont Tremblant, she sent me this glass. And so whenever I'm having like a low confidence day and I need a reminder that I'm a champion, I drink from this glass. So cheers to you.
Cheers. Cheers to retirement. Woo!
Yeah. All right. Maybe we should say we are not recording this in person. Where are you?
I live in Newark, Delaware, the first
And
state.
yeah, and you are the fastest known time women's record holder from the lowest to the highest
That's
point in
right.
Delaware.
The lowest to highest point in Delaware, which
Are
is
you a
only
Delaware celebrity? Do people, like, recognize you?
sometimes it's such a small state. It's the second smallest state after Rhode Island. So it's
So you
very small town vibes.
they should rename that route the Wong Star Trail.
It's only like 7.5 miles. It's fantastic. It's the kind of distance that I prefer these days after all those stupid Ironmans.
Yeah, well, you've definitely earned that, and congratulations on that fastest known time, breaking your own record. I know you did that just a few weeks ago. I'm in Bozeman, Montana, which until recently has had no snow. We did just get some snow, and it's a pretty big state. I'm not that well known. You'd think I'd be better well known. I did
Oh,
get recognized at the airport coming back from Kona, and that made me feel very special, but that doesn't actually happen that often. But I'm working on it. Every single day, I try to get out there and be more
I'm
well known.
surprised that everyone doesn't know you. It's like home of Haley Chura.
Or maybe they pretend not to. I wear a lot of neon, which allows people, if they see me coming, then they can spot me and turn the other way.
Did you know I've been to Bozeman?
I didn't know that. When were you here?
So, when I was in college, I spent a year at the University of Oregon and I was on their cycling team. And apparently, I'm I'm from California. So in California, it's like the conferences are this is like club collegiate cycling, but California has its own conference because it's so big and so populated. But then when I went to Oregon, it was the Northwest Conference, and that was Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana. So apparently, the year before I was there, all the races were like in Oregon and Washington. So then the students from Idaho and Montana got really upset. And so then the year I raced for them, all the races are in Montana and Idaho, which was crazy because we'd have to drive so far. But I remember going to Missoula and Bozeman, and it was really cold.
What time of year?
They would have been like early spring.
Okay, that could be very cold, but I'm glad you've been here. That was or actually I might no, we probably did not overlap. We didn't overlap, but you're always welcome to come back on purpose. Come in the summer.
There's purple
You know,
mountains there.
majestic ones.
Yes,
There's
yes. So that song, Purple Mountain's Majesty. The first time I went to Montana, I was like, "Oh, that's the part of the song about the Purple Mountains."
Yeah, come on out here. We can have a little karaoke or I don't know, what sing around the fire. It'll be a grand old time. But we decided to start this podcast for honestly no reason whatsoever other than I wanted to chat with you and I find you entertaining. So I was like, let's record it and put it
There's
on the
not
internet.
enough, like, entertaining there's a lot of triathlon podcasts, but there's a lot of not very exciting or entertaining triathlon podcasts.
I've asked myself this question. I'm like, does the world need another triathlon podcast? And most of the time I think no, but that's why this is just a happy hour podcast. We might talk about triathlon because we are both quite invested. But do you have any other thoughts for a mission statement for this podcast? Have you thought about that at all? I haven't gotten that far. But maybe we could also ask if we have any listeners, if they have a mission statement that they would like us to, a mission that they would like us to accomplish. We will work on it.
Other than to have a different drink every week.
Do we have to have well, and this might be a rotating guest
Mhm.
co-host situation. And I think for me, part of why I wanted to do this is just to exercise a creative part of my brain that I haven't really done recently. I like the technological piece. We're trying new software. I am, just trying a few different things. And then also I was just watching before we recorded, I was watching part of the new Taylor Swift documentary about the Eras tour. And I get so inspired by Taylor Swift because she works so hard and she like wants to create the best possible product. And I think I am not necessarily on her level or even like in her stratosphere, but I can take a lot from her of like, okay, hard work does pay off. And sometimes you're trying new things and you don't know if it's going to work and it might not work that moment, but maybe it works down the line. So that's part of also why I wanted to do that. It's a very selfish reason, but I guess not everything has to be altruistic.
Sure. And I feel like I am a creative person and I can express some of that through work.
What do you
Yeah, so I work as a orthotist, so I make custom prosthetic legs for amputees or custom braces, like leg braces or arm braces or spine braces for people that have mobility issues. But also, I feel like you have to behave at work. And I feel like this is an outlet where we can be a little unhinged or chaotic and just have more fun.
If our mission is to be unhinged and chaotic, I am all for that. Did you hear my big news this week? I think I did. I know I was on another podcast, the Train Everything
Yes.
podcast last week, and it was a very, very long episode and shared some news on that. But I'm guessing that by the number of people who reached out to me since then, that not a whole lot of people listened to that
Yes.
podcast.
So
So
this
I'm like,
is this is on my list of topics that we can
so
talk
you did
about.
listen.
I did, and it was very long, so I did have to break it up into chunks, but then I was like, "Well, I don't know if we wanna be super repetitive or anything, so I better finish, like, listening to what she has to say before we record tonight." So I'm glad I did because I was like and then I was gonna text you, then I was like, "No, I'm gonna talk to her later anyway."
Yeah. So what did you hear?
So it was all about, like, your retirement and your options, so okay. So we had joked that I was gonna be, like, your triathlon retirement coordinator or consultant since I've been out of it for so long, but I feel like you figured it out. So, before we have the big reveal though, this is the list I made for you,
Oh, I love this. Thank you.
okay? So, when you retire from pro triathlon and I feel like there's been so many retirements this year that other triathletes could benefit from this chat.
It's a long list. I'm in a very strong retirement class, and maybe we should
Mhm.
talk a little bit about that, about why. But first, let's talk about your list
The
of
options
things you think professional triathletes should do after
after retirement, and it
triathlon.
can be just one or multiple, but the number one option is go into coaching.
All right, I
And
like it.
you already coach,
I
so
do.
that's obvious. Number 2, become a realtor.
Realtor. Why is that one a great
I don't
career
know that it's a
option for
great one,
professional
but
triathletes?
and I don't know that it is a great one. I just know there's a lot of pro triathletes that become realtors.
There are. I mean, I can think of like Sarah Piampiano. I feel like she's crushing it. Is
Even what's his
Hillary Biscay?
Yes, and, what's his name that got caught doping? Colin, what's his
Colin
name?
Chartier is a
He's
realtor?
a realtor too.
I did not know that. I haven't kept up with Colin. Wow. Interesting.
But yeah, there's, Mike Pigg,
Is a
throwback.
realtor.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. Maybe there has to be something to it. Like a lot of maybe realtors need endurance.
to
I do
close
feel
the
like
deal.
right. Yes. I feel like, social media seems to help both professions a little bit, like a good grasp of social media, being camera ready, having a lot of good photos of yourself. I
Maybe,
don't
like, being able to BS yourself and your clients.
don't think all realtors are BSers. I mean, I think that sometimes you need a house and you get a good house, but you need someone to help you make that connection. We can keep brainstorming
We
on
can
why that's such a
brainstorm.
good career for retired professional
Or maybe
triathletes.
we'll get someone on the pod that is actually a
That's a
realtor
great
and
idea. That's a great
tell
idea.
us why so many pro triathletes become realtors.
I love this. This is okay. Okay, our mission. We're adding to it. Get a realtor on the show. What? Do you have any more? Number
Yes.
3?
Number 3, which I feel like you have mentioned as well, is go into commentary.
Commentary. Yes, I'm trying. I have reached out to Ironman
Mhm.
about being a commentator on the boat for Ironman New Zealand, which is part of the Ironman Pro Series. I am planning to be there coaching a few age group and pro athletes, which I'm very excited about. And I just think I'd be good at it. I think I'd be good at knowing people's strokes. I understand it's probably very challenging to watch the race from that angle, but it can't be worse than watching the race from like the in the race angle, right?
You can actually tell people by the way they swim.
I mean, the women, I don't know the men as well, but the women, oh, of course. I can always tell like who's on my feet by like how they touch them. I mean,
See,
I
that
guess
is
that's like not quite the same, but like people have different strokes. And then I do know different kids. I mean,
how.
there'd be times when I'm like, oh, I'm behind this person and I need to get around them because they're going to slow down. So I have some of that experience. But the men, I definitely would need to do some homework on. And I just want that kind of a challenge.
Mhm.
I've emailed someone with Ironman and I did get a response. So there's some hope. I also the other day they posted a reel on their Instagram, on the Ironman Try Instagram account about commentary during the swim and I commented on it and I said that was my dream job.
Aw.
So if our listener out there could, keep sending the good vibes, the good juju, I feel like I could do it.
That's a pretty unique skill. Like, I couldn't watch the race and be like, "Oh, yeah, that's so and so," just based on their stroke. So, yeah.
We'll see if I can do it. I mean, I'm just feeling excessively confident thanks to my fancy glass right now, but
Yes.
I want to try. So stay tuned for that one. Yeah, I agree. I mean, several retired pros have gone into commentary and they do a good job. We have Rennie's been out there for a while,
Mhm.
Greg Welch, Dee Dee Griesbauer, Michael Lovato, Matt Lieto. I think Meredith Kessler, McKeely Jones, they've all done a little bit of commentary. So there's a good group. But I think
Yeah.
Haley Chura could be added to that list.
Haley Chura would be the best swim correspondent. Yes. Okay, next one is get hired by a triathlon or triathlon adjacent brand slash former sponsor slash race corporation.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Did any of your sponsors offer you a job after you retired?
I feel like if I had wanted to go into coaching with like the team that I was on, I feel like almost all my teammates ended up going into, so I was under like, I feel like only old people or sorry, people that have been in the sport for a while will remember Team TBB, which was the bike boutique back in its heyday. But it was like Brett Sutton's team that was sponsored by this Singapore-based fancy bike shop. And now he's under Triathlete coaching, and all of my former teammates, or a lot of them, coach under this brand or, like, parts of it, something like that.
So
But
you raced in the era where you had one sponsor. Team TBB was your one sponsor. Is that right? And that was how things were organized?
so we had team sponsors, and then we could get our own, like, I did have an alcohol sponsor.
I remember that. Was it a vodka sponsor?
It was a Japanese shoju, which is, like, similar to vodka, but I was pretty
Did they
proud
pay?
of that.
Did they pay?
They paid me $500 and as much alcohol as I wanted.
That's not bad. Was it good alcohol?
It was good. It was like they would whatever race I went to, like, I traveled to Ironman Malaysia and they shipped out cases there. Like, they were willing to ship out cases to, like, whichever country I was in, which is kind of insane because if you think about shipping costs to different countries, that had to have been more than what, what the alcohol cost.
Or the $500 that they're paying you? But
Right, right.
um maybe, they had a good deal with their like a freight company. This is fascinating, but they didn't offer you a job when you were retired. They didn't say, "Okay,
No.
would you like to come on for marketing or for like
Well,
accounts payable?"
I had a pretty obvious, like, so the next thing on
Okay.
the list, which is, I feel like, kind of what you are doing as well, is go back to your previous job/career.
Yeah. So is that common?
I don't know that it is. I feel like it's actually not common.
I know, we both are there. So you were a prosthetist orthotist before you were a professional triathlete.
So I actually, the way you become a prosthetist orthotist in the US anyway, is you get your master's. I did that at Georgia Tech. So actually, our times in Atlanta almost co overlapped. I finished in 2006, which was
Well,
almost
and I
20 years
graduated from
ago.
UGA in 2007, so University of Georgia. We were rivals for a little bit. We
Huh?
overlapped as
Uh-huh.
rivals. But yes, we have been meant to cross paths, it feels like. Just
Exactly.
like misconnections for many, many years. But so you were in grad school, and then
And
how do you
then
become
so
in the
you
job?
do 2 years of residency, so 1 year in each discipline, 1 year orthotics, 1 year prosthetics. So it was during my residency time that I got recruited to be on this team. So I wasn't yet a pro or quite even fast enough. So I was like a pro development athlete. And so I they wanted me to go start training with them overseas, and I was like, I really have to," like, I took a gamble on myself and I was like, "I really have to finish my residency before I just leave and go do this triathlon thing," because, I wasn't sure if I just started doing triathlon, was I gonna finish everything? Because I wasn't yet certified, so you have to finish your 2 years and then take your board exams, and there was, like, a set of 6 board exams. So I was being trained remotely, like, my 2nd year of residency, and once I finished that, I went off to my first training camp in the Philippines, because this was like a full-time, live in person kind of team, whatever they call that, the daily training environment, is that what they call it now, the DTE?
I've heard that, but
I've heard that.
um but you were not allowed to have another job while you were on Team TBB.
I feel like there were some of my teammates that coached remotely, but they were so tired, but we were, like, discouraged from having another job. I would be home for the off season, maybe a couple months before the next training camp, and so it was hard to just do something part-time because we were still training at home during the off
And
season.
how old were you at this point?
I think I was 25 or 26.
And how were they paying for all of your room, board,
My
accommodation?
gosh. So, we would have training camps in Southeast Asia, and they would have them in places that were dirt cheap. Like, I got to live in Thailand, and I got to live in the Philippines, but I remember when we did the Thailand camp, it was kind of insane because we had this hotel It was a really tiny hotel, and it was like you could pay $7 a night for a room with no air conditioning or $9 a room with air conditioning. And so you know which one I picked.
I bet you picked $7.
$7, no air conditioning, and it was extra heat training.
No. So you're paying the $7. It's
Yep.
not paid for you. So you're just
Yeah.
using savings?
Oh, yeah, this was why I only raced as a pro for 3 years because I ran out of money really fast. Um, we had stipends. They gave us a monthly stipend, but depending on how good you were, like, I was, like, the 4th, I think, like, the 3rd or 4th/bottom slash bottom tier athlete because I was such a rookie pro. I got a whole $600 a month.
You were living on $600 a month.
Yes. Yeah, and I had student loans. That was one of the reasons I ended up running out of money is I deferred my student loans for 3 years, which is the maximum you can defer them for, but I had, like, $95,000 in student loans, and so I deferred them, and then when the 3 years were up, it was like, "Well, I don't know that I can afford to do triathlon anymore and pay my student loans."
Do you appreciate your triathlon career, having gone back after those 3 years to your prosthetics orthotist career? Do you think it helped you, or do you feel like you were like, "Man, I could have 3 more years of my 401k?"
No, I have no regrets at all. No regrets because actually having been a pro triathlete, like for as short of a time as it was, like it was something special that was on my resume that made it stand out. I ended up getting a job later at Walter Reed in Washington, D.C., which is where a lot of the Iraq and Afghanistan soldiers go to after they get injured. And so this was like the height of after those conflicts, and I got to work with so many like double amputees. But my boss over there was who was actually on the Irish Olympic team as a whitewater kayaker. And the fact that I was a retired pro triathlete, like that made me stand out in the pool of applicants. So I feel like every job I've had since retiring from pro triathlon, I've had bosses look at my resume and be impressed, like, "Oh, you did that. That's pretty awesome." And then I can use the skills that I learned just being involved in sports to help our patient population be more active and anyone that wants to get into running or biking. It's all related and it's relevant. So I ended up, I spent the next 10 years after that, paying off my loans, building my career. I'm really like happy where I am now and I really love my job. So I don't regret having like taken time out to pause that career to do something else that I really loved.
And do you remember that transition? I know it was 14 years ago, but do you remember that transition? Was it hard?
I do remember it being hard because I feel like nowadays, there's more like, now that there wasn't as much social media back then, I feel like nowadays with all the YouTube videos and Instagram, you can kind of, like, see how people are living as pro triathletes, but back then, I feel like we were more in a bubble, and so it was, like, me and my teammates, like, we were a squad that trained and lived together, which wasn't that common either, and so then once you left that training bubble, then it's like, "Oh, now I'm going back into the real world." And it was, like, really hard. You go from just training and we trained a lot. We trained, like, 30 to 35 hours a week, and that was all we did. We would go to these random foreign countries, and all we did was, like, live and train and breathe triathlon, and then you get back to the real world and you're like, "Now I gotta go to work 9 to 5, and nobody understands me."
So how I'm feeling right now is totally normal, is
It's
what you're
totally
saying.
yeah, it's totally
Yes.
normal.
So the big reveal, you haven't listened to last week's Train Anything podcast episode is that I did accept a job, and I took number 5 on your option list and went back to my previous job and career. But in my case, I went back to like truly my exact previous job that I had 12 or 15 years ago. So I am working again for Bennett Thrasher, an accounting firm in Atlanta, Georgia. I am remote. So that is one of the big changes that has happened over the last 12 years, is that I am now able to do that auditing job from Montana, and I don't have to move back to Atlanta. And that's also fascinating to me. I'm only 4 days in, so there's a lot to learn. I'm very hopeful it will work out okay. And the most fascinating thing so far has been how many people are still at the firm that I worked
Wow.
with. I started there 18 years ago. More than 18 years ago, I was
You're just a
started
baby.
there. I know. So I did have to tell one of the partners, I was like, I haven't really calmed down now that I'm older. But one of the coolest things, though, Jocelyn, is that one of the women who is a partner now, she started as an intern, and now she's a partner, and she is the first person to, in the audit department at Bennett Thrasher, work their way up from intern to partner. And
Wow.
I was like her senior, like, which is the role I am now, when she was like an intern and she was a staff. So I helped train her, and now she's my boss.
That's so weird.
It's so cool. I love it. I think you have like a role within the firm of a coach, and I was actually her coach
Okay.
before I left, and now she agreed to be my coach. So
Whoa.
I know everything comes around, and
So full circle.
I know. And I didn't necessarily see this coming. It was honestly thanks to social media. And
Mhm.
I posted a retirement video, and it kind of coincided with signing up for health insurance benefits. And I
Yes.
was looking at health insurance benefit options for 2026. And to be honest, they're so expensive in the healthcare marketplace.
Mhm.
And then I got a DM from one of my old bosses being like, "Do you want benefits?" I was like, "Yeah."
Nice.
And that was a big catalyst.
Mhm.
It happened very fast. And I think this is one of those things I felt I needed to jump on it a little bit. And I'm a big Ina Garten fan, and she says to be ready when the luck happens. And I hope that's what I did. And I've also felt like this is a little bit of a gift that 25-year-old me gave to 40-year-old me, being that I did work pretty hard in my early
Mhm.
20s, and I had a good job, and obviously didn't burn too many bridges,
Yes.
and left on good terms when I left in 2013 to pursue professional triathlon. I never really thought I would be able to move back into that role. Um, I mean, I'm hopeful that I still know how to do it, and I think I'm 4 days in, and one of the partners had told me it's just like riding a bike. I kinda laughed when he said that, but to be perfectly honest, it kind of is. The software is very
Really?
similar. A lot of the, methodologies are very similar, and, again, some of the people are even similar, and some of the clients are even similar. So, I'm actually really enjoying reconnecting with some of those people from that part of my life. Um, it's an interesting thing, but I'll admit that there were some moments this week even when I realized everyone else in the training is 25 years old and I'm 40, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, why did I ever leave?" But I think there's something to be said about what you said earlier, and that's why I loved how you answered that question about my gap was a little bit longer. It was 12 years, which is a pretty big
Mhm.
gap, and I think that I probably am getting this opportunity because I did go off and do something a little bit unusual, and now I'm a little bit unusual in my role again, but that's okay. I've been an unusual person. I feel like you relate too, where
I
you're living
relate
in
to
this
that.
training environment and it was
Yes.
a little bit unusual, but maybe there's a way to live a slightly unusual life even in fairly typical circumstances, I
Wait,
think.
so
So
are you full-time?
I am. I am full
Whoa.
time. I'm headed into tax season. I am also launching a podcast. I am also still coaching. So
Yeah.
the thing I have really cut back on is exercise. I think that
Yeah.
that's really where I've cut back a lot. I I haven't been on a bike in a month. I still swim quite a bit, just
Mhm.
because for social reasons, and hopefully I'll be able to keep that up a little bit. And I like it. Like I think that was another thing I realized that I enjoy swimming. It feels good on my body. And then I've been running. I've been running quite a bit. I think that's one of those things you can get done in
It's
a
very
relatively
efficient.
short. Yes, exactly. And it feels good. And the only thing I can't get myself to do anything really hard right now. I've been doing everything at like max, like 80% effort. And so maybe that will come around, but
Okay.
I've kind of just enjoyed really like very aerobic runs and
Mhm.
very, mostly aerobic swimming and training more for exercise than performance. I have also been in the gym quite a bit and I just really enjoy the gym and I have one in walking distance. So that's also another efficient thing for me. And I don't know if you saw the video I posted last week, but I did
You did
7
pull-ups.
pull-ups
That's
on camera.
freaking amazing. I can't
I was
even do
shocked
one.
too. I mean, I think pull-ups, to be perfectly honest, there's something to be said about body proportion. I have fairly short I mean, if you have shorter arms and shorter legs, they're gonna be a little bit easier.
Okay, I have really long arms, so that'll be
Yeah.
my excuse.
I mean, and so there is something to that, but mostly for me, that was a big victory in my grip strength because a year ago,
Yes.
I had a broken hand. And so I think that that was something I was terrified to even do. And I tried one right before Thanksgiving. I just decided I was like, you know what? Thanksgiving, it's a time. Let's see if you can do it. And I did. I texted my surgeon. I texted my occupational therapist. I wanted to celebrate with everyone. And now I'm up to 7, which I've only done that 7 once, but it's kind of a different fun goal. I would really like
That's
to be a
badass.
strong person.
I feel like that's super badass.
Thank you. I mean, if nothing else, I can, put that on the internet and then I'll, just still again, between my pint glass and my pull-ups, I can feel really good about
As
myself.
you're going down through the beer, like, I can see more of what the pint glass says.
Yes, I'll just keep drinking so you can keep seeing
I
me as a
love it.
champion.
So I think the last time I was on a podcast with you, you had just had your hand surgery. Wasn't it, like, the next day?
Yes, which if I have regrets, honestly, that was a big one. Why did I go on a podcast the day after surgery? But see, this is who I am, I think, as a little bit as a person. I actually podcasted the day before and the day after surgery. So I crashed on a Saturday. I podcasted on Monday. I had surgery on Tuesday. I podcasted on Wednesday. And now I've decided if I'm going to work that hard, I want to own my work. So that is why this is
Yeah,
happy hour with Haley.
I love it. But, oh, I also wanna know, how did the negotiation meeting go? Like, with the
For my
new
job?
job?
The new job?
Yeah, because I think I was telling you, so when I had interviewed, I was actually, so this was, 2011. I was still planning to race as a pro triathlete when I interviewed with my boss, but I knew I was running out of money, right? So, I had bumped into him, and he actually ends up, he's my current boss now. I left to go, so this was in Delaware, and then I did leave to go to Washington, DC to work at Walter Reed a couple of years, and then I came back to get an even bigger role and bigger paycheck. But
Right.
when I was still a pro triathlete, I wanted to keep my feet wet in prosthetics, so went to New York City to volunteer at this running clinic for amputees. And he had come with some of his prosthetic patients, and he's like, "Wait, you're a certified prosthetist, you live in Delaware, but you're not working?" 'Cause it is rare to find someone that's a certified prosthetist because there's only, like, 10 to 12 graduate schools in the whole country that you can
Wow.
get this degree in. So I was like, "Yeah, well, I am a pro triathlete, blah, blah, blah. I don't know that there's anyone that would wanna hire me part-time because I still wanna race and train and do these, like, Ironmans as a pro." And he just gave me his business card and was like, "Give me a call, come by and see us, we can talk, we can figure something out." And so I remember meeting him and his wife and interviewing, and then they sat down to tell me, "If you work 3 days a week, you'll make this much. If you work 4 days a week, you'll make this much, plus you'll get full-time benefits." So, the health insurance thing again, I was like, "Oh my god, I haven't had good health insurance since, I don't know, I was still on my parents." So, I went with the 4 days, which was considered full time, but I remember him telling me the amounts, and then I just, like, in my head, I'm, like, trying not to, like, jump up and down because I was making $600 a month from my professional team being a triathlete, plus whatever prize money I could scrape up, plus whatever, like, freelance writing gig I could do, and I was just like, "Oh my god, that's so much money," but, like, keep a poker face. Don't look too excited. And then, like, I got home and was like, "Oh my god, that's so much money."
Right now. I wasn't quite at the $600 a month, and I've had a good coaching career. I've been
Mhm.
coaching for, like, 12 years, like, the same duration as my professional career, because I will say as a professional, I couldn't handle the financial instability that came with
Yeah.
being a full-time pro. I think my first year, I had a great year. I won a 70.3. I qualified for Kona. I was first out of the water in Kona. I had some decent paying sponsors, and I couldn't afford my rent.
Yeah.
And back then, health insurance was a lot less expensive as well. And so I think that was a wake up call that first year where I was like, I did well and I'm still not making it. And at that point, I was like, okay, I'll give myself one more year, but I need to do something different. And that's when I started coaching. And I actually like moved in with my friend Betty and her husband and just really tried to cut expenses and
Mhm.
everything I did during my career. And then I finally got to a point where my coaching career was is solid, and I feel like I am able to, make a decent living, but it's not quite. I mean, I would get the $9 room with the air conditioning. I would splurge for the air conditioning, but, um, it's still definitely something that as I hit 40 scares me a little, and so, um, I but I it probably isn't the biggest number in the world that makes me feel very rich.
Mhm.
But I will say the firm, they were willing to work with me. I could have done an hourly, no benefits, and worked fewer hours.
Okay.
And so they gave me some different options,
Mhm.
and which is very cool. And I don't think this is unique to me. I think I have met other people who work with the firm who work different schedules and work, maybe not the full time, whatever that those number of hours are. So I think that there are more options, especially with remote work. I think that
Yeah.
that's also a big perk and something that did not exist when I
Pre-pandemic, I feel
left.
like.
Yes. I know, I think it really like took off. And
Mhm.
and there's still a lot of people who are in Atlanta. And so not everyone is remote, and but it was just nice that I was offered that as an option up front, especially mostly because they know me. They do know me, and that was probably my biggest negotiating thing was that I did not wanna move back to Atlanta. I love
Yeah.
Atlanta. I don't love Atlanta traffic, and I honestly have a very nice life here in Montana. I
Mhm.
love where I live. I'm walking distance or a quick bike ride distance from most anything I want to go to, and it's just a really, really nice existence, and so that was the biggest thing I didn't wanna give up, and so when that was an option where I did not have to give that up, I became a lot more interested. And so
Yeah.
that was probably the biggest thing. And then they know I'm still coaching and they're very supportive of that. And they were 15 years ago of me racing. I raced my first pro race while still working full time.
Mhm.
And so they know who I am and what what I how I work, and but then I have these other passions outside of work that are maybe a little non-traditional, but I think it's a good place and they're pretty supportive of that. So hopefully it works out that way.
Yay. But, yeah, you decided to go the full-time route.
I just think my brain needed it, to be perfectly honest. It's, like I said, the podcasting, it helps with a certain creative part of my brain.
Mhm.
Same thing with coaching. I think that there's a piece of me that just loves being on that side of someone's athletic journey, but I definitely had a part of my brain that just misses the problem solving that comes with auditing and learning
Yeah.
about different companies and the business side. I do feel like for the last 12 years, I have been running a very, very small business,
Mhm.
my own professional racing and my coaching business. And so I actually feel like I'm better and my skills are better now in business because I've seen how things can go wrong or go right on a very, very small scale. And now I can scale it up. And it's someone else's company, but I'm hopeful that I get to work with them. And I think one of the things I really missed when I first stepped away to race professionally was having coworkers. And I didn't realize how much my social life came from work. And obviously
Yeah,
that has
yeah.
gotten better over the years. And my athletes are almost like coworkers and some other pros and people like you. I think,
Mhm,
like you said earlier, being a professional triathlete is a pretty solo endeavor. And
mhm.
even when I'm sure when you were on a team like you were, you still are going to different races. You still maybe are training
Right.
different
It can
sessions.
be very
And so
isolated.
yes. And so I think that I'm kind of excited to be back around a lot of really ambitious young people and a few older people who are just really smart and can teach me things and help me think in a different way. And that was part of why I was like, you know what, let's just go all in. And also I feel like I'm a little bit in my money making era. I have not been for the last
Yeah.
12 years. And that was fine. Like I think I knew I'm not someone who's like totally motivated by making money,
Mhm.
but and there were a lot of gifts that triathlon gave me from a paycheck sometimes, and I think I'm a better person for it. But right now, while I'm healthy and I have quite a bit of energy, just maybe not the energy to race an Ironman in Hawaii, but I still have a lot of energy to problem solve and use my brain. I'm like, okay, let's make as much money as I can. So
That
that's
sounds
kind of what I'm doing.
awesome. Yes. Good for you. Good for you. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Hopefully I can keep this all up. We'll see. But for right now, it's a fun challenge, and I think I don't have a whole lot else going on in life, so I might as well do all this, right?
I feel like it's good to kind of, I don't know, it's like you're replacing one thing you were like all in on. You gotta fill in that time.
Yes, and I'm not a person who does things halfway. I am a person
Yeah,
who
yeah.
does things a little bit excessively, and that's probably not going to change. And so I was like, okay, I might as well get paid for my excessiveness.
Exactly. Wait, so wasn't I remember you were saying it was one of your old bosses that got you into triathlon.
Yes, Michael Dukes, he's still there. He is still at the
Wow.
firm. So, I haven't spoken to him yet, except for over text message, but
Mhm.
I've gotten quite a few nice messages from the partners and the people that I worked with previously, because most of the people that I worked with previously are now partners, like, because
No.
that's kinda how the hierarchy goes. But so it's kind of cool. It's pretty cool, but, yes, I think everyone's been so supportive. I actually kind of started a file on my phone of like happy messages. And some of those were just screenshots of messages people sent me. They came honestly for this job, like people who found out about it. And then I've also done it with just nice messages about retirement. I think I've
Mhm.
gotten some nice messages and also a few nice messages about podcasting. I think that was something over the last year. I had quite a few people yell at me at races or
Yeah.
comment on my Instagram or, send me a note saying they missed me on the podcast. And I missed doing it as well. And I just needed a little bit of a time and space and I think motivation and then also self-sponsorship. That's another nice thing about my money-making era is now I can sponsor our own podcast. And so this is the
Woohoo.
Happy Hour with Haley sponsored by Haley.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
So we're back. We're back and we'll see what happens with this show. But Jocelyn, if nothing else, it's been so fun to reconnect with you.
It has been. I mean, I feel like even at races, I didn't podcast as long as you did, but at different races or even just through like different DMs, people will still be like, "Oh, we miss your podcast. I miss your podcast." And it's like, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, now you are recurring guest and we are going to get all the Jocelyn stories. But before I let you go, you did just race. We want to talk about triathlon and you did just race a local race and I think you won, right?
It was a local 5K,
Okay.
and it's the one that my company always sponsors every year, so I've done it 5 years in a row, And so it's really like a chance to show up in front of my coworkers.
I love it. That's all I got right now. So tell me this is okay, that I'm not the only one.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic because, your coworkers know you as like, "Oh, yeah, she's the crazy one that does, like, triathlons or running races or whatever." But then if you actually, like, show up to the race and you, like, win the whole thing, which I actually haven't done since I had my daughter 5 years ago. So the first 2 years, I did it with her in the jogging stroller, and then I just, like, have had all these, like, old lady injuries since I'm 44 now, you're 40.
Yes.
But a lot of different weird little injuries, and so I this is the first year I hired a coach, Liz Waterstret, who also knew from our blogging days
Okay.
years and years ago, but I started working with her this year, which is, like, my first full-time triathlon coach since I was a pro. So, it's kind of a big deal, but I wanted to just do sprint triathlons because that's all I have the desire or my my desire to train big hours is, like, just gone. Like, I'm like, "I only train, like, 5 to 7 hours," and she respects that, and so she just works with, like, the time I give her, and I say, "I never wanna swim more than 2,000," and she respects that. She's a good coach.
Great.
So, it was actually my fastest time in
Where'd you
5
go?
years, 21:41.
Right. And it
Yeah,
felt good.
it felt good. I actually paced well, got to break the tape, just felt ready from the start, and so that was like
Faster, faster as a master.
yeah, I hadn't felt good running a whole race in a while, so it was a huge win for the year to, like, close it out that way.
Well, congratulations. I'm so proud of you. I am excited to hear more about your race plans and that whole transition from doing 8 Ironmans a year to racing sprint triathlons.
Yeah.
We'll have to get into that as we move through this show in the new year. But I'm so excited to have you on board, Jocelyn. It's been so nice catching up, and cheers, and hopefully we get to chat again soon. Bye.